Hello everybody. I was invited to talk today about community involvement in the welcoming process, which I will do based on my personal and works experience and observation. I absolutely understand that Global Cleveland Initiative is planning to approach a totally different group of people than I used to work with, but still I think that some of the ideas and programs used by Jewish Family Service while resettling Russian refugees can be helpful today as well. As Greg mentioned, 17 years ago, I came to the United States with my husband, 16-year-old son, and my elderly parents. And we were really welcomed to Cleveland as we received attention, assistance, and support services we could never dream of. A year later, I joined a team of dedicated case managers at Jewish Family Service Association who helped refugees from the former Soviet Union to start their new life in Cleveland. So I'm familiar with this process from both sides, as a recipient of services and a service provider as well. Jewish Family Service Association is one of the organizations that helped to resettle refugees, mostly from the Soviet Union. From 1989 through 2006, JFSA helped to resettle over 6,000 individuals. Russian Jews had to flee the former Soviet Union because of anti-Semitism that flourished during the communist era. They came to the United States seeking freedom from ethnic discrimination in their native country. The resettlement services that were provided at that time, in some way or another, can be relevant to what we can do now to help new professionals and their families settle in Cleveland. The difference is how I view it, that now we would like to make Cleveland attractive and welcoming to professionals and their immediate families. 20 years ago, we helped extended families to flee their homeland for safety and freedom. The uniqueness of that situation 20 years ago was that the entire Jewish community has united for a common mission of resettling and absorbing Russian Jewish refugees. Our joint goal was to help refugees to feel at home in Cleveland and become self-sufficient and contributing members of community as soon as possible. The entire community worked together to help the Russian refugees to experience the Jewish life. Synagogues, Jewish community center, and Hebrew schools opened their doors to the group of people who frequently were forced to hide their Jewish identity in their native countries. As a case manager for newly arrived families, I arranged financial assistance, coordinated healthcare and educational services, provided material necessities such as food, furniture, and clothing. And we also provided referrals to government benefit programs and crisis intervention as needed. Successful refugee resettlement could not be accomplished without strong community involvement. This involvement can be maintained in several forms. In the form of time, the volunteer work, in the form of financial assistance, or in the forms of services that can be provided. Today, I will mention some of the community organizations that help us bring refugees to Cleveland and resettle them. In resettlement office, we worked with two types of cases, or two types of families. When it was a family reunion case, the sponsoring family was supposed to post a deposit to cover housing expenses for the first 4 months in the United States. In a lot of cases, the hosting family was the family who itself came to Cleveland a short time ago, and they not always had sufficient funds to do it. In this case, they were referred to Hebrew Free Loan Association. For the families with no relatives in Cleveland that were called free cases, the first 4 months of services were fully paid by community funds provided by the Jewish Federation. For family reunion cases, the local families were supposed to make housing arrangements and airport pickup. Case managers provided assistance as needed. For free cases, everything was done by the case managers from Jewish Family Services. We arranged housing, utilities, and furnishing. If there were problems with settling families in the apartment, we initially placed our clients at Hebrew Shelter House. During this period of time, Resettlement Office has been receiving numerous donations from different community organizations such as the National Council of Jewish Women or individual donors. And again, the volunteers, BISCA volunteers and community volunteers helped us to sort and distribute these donations. On the day of the arrival, the caseworker met the family in the airport, and sometimes it was extended family, and of course we had to use the help of volunteers, the help of volunteer drivers. Among our clients, there were a lot of large, multi-generational families with a lot of specific needs. The case managers had to provide access to health care, to education for children, to English as a second language classes, ESL classes for those who needed to prepare for job search. And again, community at large assisted with these tasks. Volunteers helped to drive new refugees to medical appointments and translated there if needed. Hebrew schools provided free tuition to the children. Most of the schools in the areas where Russian refugees resettled started ESL classes, English second language classes for students. Free English second language classes were opened in JCC libraries and many senior apartment buildings. All these classes made the process of adjustment easier and helped to overcome language barrier and helped with acculturation. I would like to mention one more volunteer program, the Jewish Big Sister, Big Brother program. It's a mentoring volunteer program where volunteers worked one-on-one with children of different age. They introduced the children to American life, took them to different places of interest, helped them to adjust to the new life, enhance their feeling of community, and helped them to decrease isolation. And Russian children established special relationships, special friendship with their big brothers and big sisters. Recently, I attended a wedding of my friend's daughter. This family came to Cleveland in 1990. 20 years later, the big sister was the guest of honor on this wedding. A very important part in resettlement process was to see refugee families to acculturate to the point that they find not only a safe refuge in Cleveland, but also a real home here. At that time, most synagogues, regardless of their affiliation, supported refugees by welcoming them to weekly services, holiday celebration, provided high quality food baskets. I still do remember the excitement of my parents who received their first Rosh Hashanah holiday basket just 2 weeks after we came to Cleveland. And of course, I won't forget my first experience at a real Passover Seder. We were just invited by the family we never knew before, we never met before. This was the family who just opened the doors of their home to the refugees. And I can tell that none of us was spoiled by this kind of attention and generosity when we lived in Russia. JFSA also provided employment services. And again, I would like to mention the community involvement, the volunteer involvement in this process. Part of it was ESL buddy program that was matching eligible refugees with volunteers for socialization and development and communication skills in English. Another part was volunteer mentoring program, when refugees were matched with professionals in their field, who introduced them to professional life, taught about specifics of American workplace, helped to write resumes, advised how to start the job search and how to prepare for job interviews. And I spoke a lot about community involvement, community help for the refugees. And you may ask a question, was it really this important to bring refugees to Cleveland? What did the refugees give to the community? And I can tell you that refugees and immigrants can be an important source of the new population to the cities like Cleveland. Being highly educated, professional, and hardworking, Russian refugees integrated into community well. Many of Russian Jewish refugees became doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. Lawyers and college professors, scientists and musicians opened successful businesses. Former refugees who integrated into American life now help our community grow through economic development and cultural enrichment. And though GFSA ended the resettlement program over 4 years ago, the agency continues to maintain a number of programs that could be beneficial for new immigrants to Cleveland area. GFSA Older Adult Services provide assistance with preparation for citizenship tests, including English as second language and citizenship classes, as well as individual tutoring. We provide services for seniors such as home-delivered meals, emergency response system, and different home care services, including nursing services. GFSA also provides mental health services and assistance to victims of domestic violence. Our usability program helps younger adults with special needs. Thinking at the potential of the new arrivals to Cleveland area, I believe that some of the programs I just mentioned today could be successfully replicated in the future. Those programs would include assistance with finding housing, introduction to healthcare and education system, professional mentoring program, English as a second language classes for family members or job search for family members, volunteers from ethnic communities, and of course spiritual leadership. And the community can help with most of these programs. And the last thing I would like to mention, I had like a couple minutes to look through the folders that were on each and every table, and what attracted my attention was the pink sheet with the volunteer opportunities. I believe it's the key thing to start helping and